Hello, YouTube. This is Ben Yessel. How's it going? Okay. So I know this is, it's February still. It's dark evening. Just in my house here. Uh, Turning on the light for you guys. Okay. I'm gonna make a lot of videos tonight. I think I have a lot of things on my mind. So I know they might not be always very visually amazing, but maybe I'll go for a walk depending on how much juice is in my phone. And the snow is not quite as well, it's off the streets a bit more. So on this one, I'm just gonna talk. A while back I made a video game review of Pillars of Eternity. I've played it again. I'm playing it again recently, and there are things about this game that I'm finding a bit more enjoyable this time around. So I think this video is going to be just about Pillars of Eternity. This is the first game. Now, I have, by the way, how these things are going, by the way, on my computer. I have some games that maybe I could get more into, perhaps, but there are new games that will require a bigger computer, or, well, say a beefier computer that's going to be more expensive, like Pillars of Eternity 2, or more especially Divinity Original Sin 2, as well as some other ones that I'm looking at. So Steam has, these different, divisions of things you can kind of, use. Like they have your wish list and your following list and your ignored list and your whatever list. Have things you've seen but you've passed on for whatever reason. It'd be great if they had even more gradations. A lot of things I want to play are on other kinds of computers or other kinds of platforms, not necessarily Macs. I'm using Mac right now. So, yeah, so some games I just have to wait till I have a different computer system. But, so a lot of the things, I think for the most part, I'm not going to get any new games on my computer for the most part until I get a new computer. Just going to play the ones I already have. For the most part. Depends on their system requirements. So I keep these things really closely in mind. So anyway, getting back to Pillars of Eternity, there are a lot of things about this game that are kind of intriguing. And I was a little severe about the game, at least online, or have been for a while. For what it costed, it's actually pretty good game. I like the fighting. This is gonna have some spoilers here. Sorry. I like fighting Raedric and Raedric's Hole. That was pretty cool. It's always really fun though to be able to use your sneaking ability and steal stuff in these Dungeons and Dragons isometric type games. The stealing thing is always more fun in these games than with Elder Scrolls, because in Dungeons and Dragons isometric games of stealing, the way that Pillars of Eternity treated stealing, all the rogue things hiding in the shadows and all that stuff. It's a middle ground between, and hopefully I haven't said this before. It's a middle ground between Baldur's Gate and the Elder Scrolls games, where you can get away with stealing easier in Pillars of Eternity compared to the Elder Scrolls games. Because if you're in a room where nobody can see you, if you can steal, depending, you can see that eye, even if you're sneaking, you can see if the eye appears, people can see you. If you're concealed in shadows enough, people can't see you. And you can get better at sneaking around. In Baldur's Gate, it was crazy easy being able to steal stuff. Like, you didn't have an eye, but you could they gave you the benefit of the doubt. If you were sneaky enough, and you were far enough away from people, they wouldn't see you. Even some people right pretty close to you sometimes, if they weren't looking your direction, you could steal from. It was just like fun and easier. And it was so fun to just ransack mansions. And that's one of my funniest things. The funniest things to do in Baldur's Gate 2 was to ransack, steal everything from mansions and have get tons of money and gems and all kinds of stuff. That was so fun. It was the same thing with museums, or a lot of places in Baldur's Gate, the city itself, and other places, maybe other places, but especially Silver Shield. I think, some rich guy in the rich area, one of the richest areas of Baldur's Gate, and the museum of some high museum, and so on and so forth. The mansion in the Bridge District in Baldur's Gate 2. But in Pillars of Eternity, it's hard enough where it's still pretty fun, but there are times you just have to say, there's just not no way I can steal something. So, but in Elder Scrolls, of course, you just hardly could, you just had a dickens of a time trying to steal stuff. You could be in a room where nobody sees you, and they stop, or you think you got away with something maybe, but nope, some Imperial Guard is chasing you down from 2 miles away. They just see him running toward you from a mile away. If just because you stole some red sock from some, it's just ridiculous. The stealing thing in the Elder Scrolls games is laughable. But, it's still great games. I shouldn't get on their case too much. So Pillars of Eternity, going on to other things, I'm going on a bit about the stealing stuff. Pillars of Eternity has a really in-depth mythology, god system, cultural thing, things, different cultures, different, things about the world that, I'll be honest, it's been overwhelming in the past, and it still kind of is, and it's enough so that if there's all the newer, different terminologies they use. There's enough of that still to feel very confused. And I mentioned this in my last Pillars of Eternity review a while back. There's enough of this that it makes your head kind of go spin, or you just kind of tune it out. You just don't care. And it's easier and funner to play the game without thinking about all this stuff. And so, because there's so much of it, it's something that over time, I'm like, okay, maybe over time I'll come to understand this stuff better as I care more about it to begin with. Or like other games where, you see more of these things yourself. The Deerwood in the past, and I can't remember how many of these gods that they mention, feuding gods, and Durance is going on about this whore. Like, what? This goddess that's a whore? You calling it a whore? like it's different. It's very different. I have to commend Obsidian and makers of Pillars of Eternity, all these guys, for being very unique and being very thought out about all these things. And I like Durance as a I understand pretty well the first game around. He was in my party, but I understand maybe in some respects even a little better. Maybe he was pretty vivid in my mind the first time around, but it's this interplay of all the gods. It's actually toward the end of the game it gets a bit more enjoyable because you get more into their personalities, and it is kind of like of course, like Dungeons & Dragons games. It's not. I'm about to say polyphony. That's music. It's not polyphony. It's monotheism versus polytheism. That's the word I'm looking for. It's Dungeons & Dragons universes are generally polytheistic. You don't really pay much attention to gods until maybe in Baldur's Gate toward the end of the game. You become aware of. You always know who Baal is, and you know Ao, the Overfather, and you know some of the gods because you go to the temples of different gods. But it isn't something that's really a big part of the game until you become, close to a god yourself, or you become a god yourself, toward the end of... Sorry, that's the phone. I do apologize. I'm going to go outside for a bit while this thing rings. Nope, it was picked up. So you just don't have any need to get either bored or disoriented by the whole god mythology background fantasy world system in the Baldur's Gate games. In Divinity Original Sin, you kind of start out with already kind of more of a idea in the game that involves the gods more. It involves the powers that be right off the bat, and it can be overwhelming, and it can be disorienting and confusing. So I just think it's a better idea to play the game in such a way where you just are like, oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. And it takes a lot of time to learn all this stuff. And a lot of us don't really want to know all this stuff until it just becomes more familiar. And when that happens, it happens. There's this deal with Green Audra and this old ancient civilization, the Aothean, starts with an E. And they lived a long time ago, and something significant about this green rock that they used a lot, Audra or whatever. It sounds like a person's name, but yes, the main character's wife from It, the 1990 version, right? The guy's wife's name was Audra, so I'm like, oh, Audra, It. I hate that they have nothing to do with each other. This is I don't know where to get these names. It's not a bad name for a rock. It's actually, anyway. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Thinking about something else a little bit, but the thing is, okay. Sorry, folks. Okay. So, Pillars of Eternity has... I kind of made my point there, I think, already. But going on to some other stuff here about the game, it's regrettable that there's only 8 characters that can join your party. It's not one of the strong points of the game. One of the characters is... Let's face it, he's some kind of weird, non-human, humanoid type character meets somebody vaguely Polynesian. You know who I'm talking about? It's Kana with his chanter thing. It works. He works. He's a memorable character. I think they're going for someone a little bit Minsky. From like some comparison to the old Baldur's Gate games, something kind of Minsk-ish, but different. And so I understand creating really memorable original characters is not easy. The whole chanter class is really kind of confusing. It's basically like you're a fighter, but you're also a mage of some sort, but you chant like a bard instead of having spells. I just think, make him a fighter and have his chants be like a nice little additional thing. So he's more like a bard. He doesn't really learn spells. He learns chants. It's just, I don't know. Whatever. I don't think very much of the chanter class. I wish he had a more constitution or might or whatever. And just, you need a lot of big boys in the game. You only have, I hate hiring additional adventurers. Just, I've never done that. Additional adventurers. But, yeah. So I just started with a smaller party, and I want to do it that way for a while. But it would be interesting trying something different. But like Icewind Dale, you can kind of, I don't know. I haven't tried the hiring an adventurer thing. I don't know how that works. You guys tell me. But if you can custom design your adventurer or whatever. But I'm assuming you would. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. So, but you always need more fighters in games. You need more fighters. You need more people that can... 1 second here. You need more people that... 1 second, Lane. That's right. My landlord is just coming upstairs and talking. So, you need more people that can just fight and stuff. I'm outside, by the way. I wanted to keep this video going without anybody, you probably heard my landlord come upstairs. You need more people that can just fight. You don't need a whole bunch of spellcasters. You don't need a bunch of, you only need one rogue. You only need one clergy person. You only need one mage. And if you want anybody else, that's just how these things kind of go in Dungeons & Dragons isometric party-based CRPG games or whatever. Some other types are similar here, but you know, one mage, one cleric, one rogue, a bard if you want, or some other class that does something a little different. And the rest of them should be fighters, or fighter-ish. A ranger can kind of work if the ranger's tough enough. So my complaint with, one of my complaints still with Pillars of Eternity, the first one is that they should have had more fighters that could join your party. Beefy guys that are good with heavy armor and stuff. You know, I mean, anybody knows that. So the other thing too is that, you know, as far as content of the game, there's a lot of pretty areas. You can just go explore an area, go to an area just for the beauty of certain areas. So I noticed that, like all the purple flowers and all the, you know, it's pretty in some areas. And that's one of the reasons why I want to play a lot of video games, is more that kind of thing anyway. It's the aesthetic about it. A lot of gamers aren't that way, I understand, but less that way. And the storyline and all that stuff. So, yeah. What else do I want to say about this game? I'm just, again, second time through playing it. Level 7 right now. I think 6 or 7. I think 6. What else? I'm sorry, guys. It's not always clear what stuff you should keep, of course. Trying to understand all the numbers that they're using and all the, you know, whatever. It doesn't hold your hand, I know that, but it's, I don't know. It's not bad. Anything that's enchantable, it's like, I know you probably shouldn't sell, but then again, you know, you can't, there's a lot of things that you can pick up that are enchantable. So I pay attention to like how much you could sell things for, and if something is just not, it's cheaper than a lot of other things that I'm using, you know, I'm likely to sell it. I'm looking at how much it's worth, so that, it's, you know, the more something's worth, the more valuable it is to hold on to. I tend to kind of look at that if I'm really confused. So, and I'm gonna wrap this guy up here. You guys leave me thoughts and comments below. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.